3, 2, 1. Ready? MACtion.
It's going to be tipped and caught! It's caught! It's caught in the touchdown, Western Times!
Daniel out of the pocket. He's going to try and run for it. Breaking tackle. Down. He gets popped. He lost the football.
And he scores on the last play of the game! Unbelievable! Holy guacamole! Watch this hit right here! By Dave John Anthony. He said, "Give that man some milk!"
Don't you dare skip that channel. You are tuned in live with Talking MACtion.
Welcome on into Talking MACtion. I'm Dominic Clary. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mac here today. It won't be a super long episode like it's been the past few weeks, probably around 15, 20, 25 minutes here as we really get into what happened this past week. A few games where we thought the results would be different. One team playing up to their competition, putting themselves in the position to win, and a few teams that have come up with some decently sized wins, some conference and some out of conference. This will be, I think this next week, week 6, may be the first week that we have all conference games. Yeah, that will be, no, NIU will play UMass. So they will be playing a non-conference game. Next year that will be a conference game, but not quite yet. I want to talk about UConn and Buffalo. After we talk about last week's games, we're going to talk about my power rankings. Then we'll go into next week's schedule. Not too many games there, so should be quick with that. UConn defeats Buffalo 47-3. Just a disappointing performance by the offense. Not able to get anything going. Buffalo, Ogbonna, 12 for 25, 82 yards. Not going to get the job done on offense. And he was your leading rusher with 14 carries, 38 yards. Again, not enough for your leading rusher. This is just a disappointing performance. And the running backs didn't do well. They just didn't do well. Lamar Sperling, 1 carry, 1 yard, just simply not enough. Messiah Burke, 3 carries, 15 yards. Barksdale, 3 carries, 9 yards. I mean, they were playing behind the entire game, and it shows with the running stats. Alja Henderson didn't have a lot either. It's these players that we have come to know for Buffalo in the running game have showed out on separate occasions. Not today. We saw just a few weeks ago, but 2-3 weeks ago, Lamar Sperling being the man. Before that, it was Alja Henderson. And then we saw Barksdale. And you have 3 great options, and now you see no production against the UConn team. That's should be deemed beatable for a Buffalo. UConn is an independent who is 3-2. They're not super competitive typically. They have looked better and brighter than they have previously since they left the Big East and then left the AAC. But this is a team that you expect to beat, and they got embarrassed. I mean, quite frankly, they got embarrassed by UConn. And they had a big win against NIU, and I get that. And then you go to UConn on the road and you get embarrassed. And it's not something that should happen if you're Buffalo, as my life just fell. It's not something that should happen if you're Buffalo. UConn is not a team that you should lose to in that fashion. Again, a loss is a loss, and it happens. These MAC teams, I get it. Like, sometimes you lose to teams that you deem yourself better than. But quite frankly, that was an embarrassing loss to UConn. NIU, they fight with ACC opponent, NC State. NC State, pretty normal on where they usually are. 3-2, usually a team with a winning record, dance around 8 wins, 7 wins. So this is a good ACC opponent that you're going against. I know they're not a Big Ten opponent or a SEC opponent, but this is still a Power 5 program that usually wins games like these pretty handedly. NIU, they go to NC State, and I mean, they fight with them. At one point, they could have tied the game at 1 point. Pardon me, just not the case. Not able to score enough in that fourth quarter. Only a field goal. They lose 24-17. Again, NIU, they have your big upset on the year. You're 2-2. You should be 3-1, but it is what it is at this point. You just got to keep on moving forward. Ball State loses to James Madison 63-7. All I could say is that this Ball State team just struggling to find its way. I'll tell you what, that coaching staff's answering questions right now that I don't know if they have the answers to, and I feel bad for them because this is a team that is trying to build a culture still, and there's moments where they have built a culture, and it's just every time it seems like they're about to break through, they can't get over the hump. And it is showing with a 1-3 record and an embarrassing loss against James Madison. Miami wins in overtime against UMass 23-20. It took till the very end, but boy, did they win. They finally get their first win on the year. I think they move up a little bit on the power rankings, not much. Hard to reward them for just a win over UMass. I mean, every MAC team's having their way with UMass, but UMass played well. They played well against Miami at Miami on homecoming. So that's something to look at. Maybe Miami isn't as good as we thought they were. That might be a conversation that we might have to have here very, very shortly. Again, when you have Gabbard and you have Mosey, you think that this team, and you have Salpick as linebacker, you think this team would have another win or two, but they've had a tough schedule, and they win the one game that isn't a Power 5 opponent. That's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you want. 1-3, worst case scenario, that's what this is. They still have a chance to go to a bowl game. Can't lose 3. But again, everything that they want is currently in front of them. So things aren't too bad yet for Miami. They're still a way forward, and there's still a way to see themselves in Detroit in November. Central Michigan beats San Diego State on a game-winning field goal. Sean Lewis's San Diego State Aztecs can't defeat the Central Michigan Chippewas. In Labus having another game, I believe he's a transfer from Iowa. He's Brecksville, Ohio. Yeah, he's the transfer from Iowa. He's been playing well with Emmanuel not playing this year yet. It's best case scenario is this guy coming in and playing well, and that's what he's done. And you can't complain about that. The junior's done well. And this was a guy that I think a lot of people locally was hoping to see in an Iowa uniform. That wasn't the case for him. He ends up at Central Michigan. He's playing well. 22-21 win. Central Michigan with the winning record. They're looking good thus far. Got to be happy with that if you're a fan over there in Mount Pleasant. Western Michigan loses to Marshall 27-20. They fought at the end but gave up a touchdown, and that's what did them in. They were 1-3. Western Michigan might not be the dark horse we thought they were. Again, this week has had so many teams where we look at them and say, maybe this isn't what we think, or, hey, this team's a lot better. We're going to be talking about 2 of those teams here in a minute. And, yeah, it's just that the teams I thought were going to have good records at the beginning aren't. NIU kind of where I saw them. Buffalo, I didn't have them as 3-2. Miami, I had them with a better record. Central Michigan, winning record a little. This is a game I picked them to lose. Western Michigan and they're just struggling. I thought they would have another win under the belt. I thought this was a winnable game, and it certainly was. Not able to get the job done. Again, Akron, they're 1-4. They lose to Ohio, who's 3-2, scores 30-10. This is a game that Ohio kind of had to squeak by a little bit. Akron not able to move the ball after their lone touchdown in the second quarter. And if they're able to score another point, this might be a different game. Ohio doesn't have that 30. I mean, Ohio gets a safety in their favor in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter, Ohio scores 2 touchdowns. See if Ohio could bounce back, see if Akron could bounce back this week, but it might be a little bit harder seeing who they face. We'll talk about that here later. Eastern Michigan defeats Kent State in the pouring rain. Kent State's offense looked good. Despite them losing 52-33, they played really well. They scored a touchdown each quarter, and usually when you score 33, that's a winning formula, but their offense turned the ball over 3 times in a row and put themselves in a losing position in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, it was not enough for them to crawl back. And they struggled. Again, they kept tying the game up. It just wasn't enough. Tommy Yu, I'm not trying to pronounce his last name. Tommy Yu, he was 15 for 28, 345 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He played well. I mean, Eastern Michigan out-cultured him. Kenny Burns said that. There's just a better culture at Eastern Michigan than there is at Kent, and that's just flatly the case. Eastern Michigan put on display. They're 4-1, 2 wins from a bowl game. Things are looking great for Eastern Michigan. This is a team where we didn't know what the future had for them this year, as they lost some talent. They bring in Cole Snyder, and we don't know what can happen. They can beat Miami next week. They can beat Central Michigan and Akron, and then Toledo, Ohio, Buffalo, Western Michigan's a tough way to end the season in the MAC, but they can win some of those games and end up in the MAC championship. They can see themselves dancing around the MAC championship at the end of the year. Things got to be perfect from here on out. Only can drop a game or two in the MAC, especially when you play Miami and you play Toledo. Not playing Bowling Green helps them out a lot. We'll talk about Bowling Green and Old Dominion, our last game from last week. Bowling Green, they lose 30-27. They fight, but giving up 13 points there in the fourth quarter did them in. And giving up 14, quite frankly, in the first hurt them as well. This team was on pace to win the game after the second quarter, and it didn't pan out once they gave up 13 in the fourth quarter. Basilic went 27 for 36, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Fannin Jr., I mean, boy, he's the best tight end in the country. 192 yards off of 12 receptions, 2 TDs. It doesn't get much better than him, man. That guy, I told Penn State fans early in the season, he is a guy that you absolutely, positively have to watch out for. That guy's a stud, and I said it last week, I'll say it again. He's going to end up as a top draft pick, as he deserves to be. Excited to see where he lands, but he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the NFL when it comes to rookies next year. I'm really confident about that. Let's talk about some of the power rankings. So Toledo, they go up a spot. So does NIU. They're 1 and 2 in the rankings. Eastern Michigan, they move up a spot. They're at the 3 spot. Ohio moves up 2, and so does Central Michigan. They are 4 and 5. Buffalo drops big time to 5. Just didn't like the win. Still have a good record. We'll see where they can bounce from there. NIU, they get moved up mainly because of the quality of the loss they had. And I think if they played that well against a group of 5 team, they win that game. Bowling Green is not dropping lower strictly off of just good faith. Kind of believe what they're doing there. So hopefully that they can keep it going. But right now, not showing up on the record. They need to bounce back against Akron. Miami, they're 1 and 3. They stay where they are, 8. Western Michigan, they drop. They're at 9. Akron, Ball State, and Kent State, 10, 11, 12. That doesn't change. Let's look at what we have for this incoming week, where we have UMass. They face another MAC team. And that is NIU, who's looking to get a winning record outside of in the non-conference, and kind of catapult themselves into conference play, and redeem themselves a little bit after the Buffalo loss and after the NC State loss. I'm gonna have. So I think that UMass covers at 17. It's in favor of NIU, but I think NIU wins the game. So UMass to cover the spread, but NIU to win the game. I feel pretty confident about NIU's chances here to win the game. Where did I put my water? So yeah, feel good about NIU winning this game in UMass covering Let's move on. That's a noon game on CBS. Western Michigan, they will travel to Muncie to face on Ball State. The battle of the 1-3 battle of the 1-3 record teams. Ball State, they are 0-1 in the conference. Wow, the prices for this game, it says the ticket price for this $121. I didn't know it was such a hot time. Must be homecoming? Huh. Huh. That's interesting to see. I like Western Michigan to win this game and cover. The spread is at 10 in favor of Western Michigan. I think Western Michigan's going to win and cover. I just have a good feeling about Western Michigan. I feel like they're going to bounce back in the 69-degree weather there in Muncie. Toledo in Miami, one of the biggest games that we'll be watching. I won't be at that one. Be at a different game that's just a little bit closer to me. But boy, is this a big game. If you're a Mac fan, this is the one that you want to have your TV on. Toledo, they will be facing Miami. I think Toledo wins this one, despite what I said earlier in my previews. And I also think they'll cover the spread. I think they'll win by 7. The spread is at 6.5 in favor of Toledo. Akron, they take on Bowling Green at home. Akron 1-4, Bowling Green 1-3. Akron looking to, I think, get a win and head into the bye week and rest. I think they have a bye next week. No. But again, if you're Akron, this is a must win at home against Bowling Green, and it's not going to be an easy task. I think Bowling Green is going to win, and they're going to cover at 16.5. Usually I pick Akron in these situations, but I don't think so. This offense has just been lacking firepower, and it's been a struggle thus far. Defense has played hard, but when the offense isn't moving the ball well, it puts your offense in a bad spot, or puts your defense in a bad spot, and that's what we've seen thus far. So not a lot of games for this week, only the 4 here. Probably going to see that for the next few weeks. Next week, actually, we have a bigger slate, which is good to see, as always. But yeah, that's it here from Talking MACtion. Not a very long episode, like I said, because of week 6 not having a lot going on. Make sure to check out the power rankings. Make sure to check, and also make sure to watch the other accounts or the other videos on this account on the Across the Sports World. We have some good content. Hopefully, we'll be having more content releasing. That's the goal, but you just never know on what content you're going to be able to release sometimes, and it's all about timing a lot of the times. So we'll work on that, but make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel on Across the Sports World, which you're watching on right now. If not, if you're listening on the Talking MACtion page, whether it's on Podbean or Spotify or whatever it is, make sure to go on the YouTube page and subscribe, and make sure to watch Across the Tailgate, which is me interviewing people across the tailgate, exactly what it entails. Make sure to watch that. Keon Sports, also subscribe to that YouTube channel. Some of our older videos are on there as well. All the newer ones are just on Across the Sports World, so make sure to look at that. And if there's any old episodes you want to watch, they're there. They probably won't be uploaded. So thank you for watching. We'll be back next week, hopefully moving to a Monday schedule, but it's hard to tell when that will happen. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll have articles for the Miami Toledo, and we will have an article for Ball State's game against Western Michigan and Akron's game as well. So make sure to go to the Keon Sports website and read those articles when they come out after the game. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.